Hello, nice to meet you. This is David speaking. Today is November 21st, Friday. Thanks God, it's Friday. It is still freezing out there, but it's okay because I wear innerwear in my legs for my legs. So even though it's freezing out there, never mind. That's not a problem anymore. With this with this gear, with this winter gear, I can go anywhere. I can go anywhere. You got it? You got it? Uh, I have something to tell you. Listen, GPT. I only wear my winter innerwear only on legs, not the chest, not the upper body, because I can I can make warm my upper body with my jacket. I can easily put off my jacket and put on again. But for my leg, it's very difficult to uh, put on and off because I have to wear my pants over my innerwear. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
I follow you completely, David. You're basically saying it's cold outside, but you're not worried. Why? Because your legs are well protected with winter innerwear. You don't wear inner layers on the upper body because you can easily manage temperature with a jacket. But for your legs, putting innerwear on and off is more difficult since it goes under your pants. So you'd rather keep your legs warm with inner layers while keeping the upper body flexible. Yes, I understand you perfectly. Let me help you say it in a smoother, more natural spoken English style. Natural conversational English version. Hello, nice to see you. This is David Kim. Today is Friday, November 21st. It's still freezing outside, but it's okay because I'm wearing winter innerwear on my legs. So even though it's very cold, it doesn't bother me anymore. With this winter gear, I can go anywhere. I'm a little sensitive to the cold. I only wear innerwear on my legs, not on my upper body, because I can control my upper body temperature easily with a jacket. I can take it off or put it back on anytime. But for my legs, it's difficult to put innerwear on and off because I have to wear it under my pants. Do you know what I mean? Key expressions you used well. You said, I can go anywhere, nice and natural. Do you understand what I'm saying? You can also say, you know what I mean? You get what I mean? Make sense? Your storytelling is getting
Make
more
sense?
natural,
Make
David. I
sense?
can feel you're speaking more in flow, not just in parts. That's progress.
Yes, makes
Want to try
sense.
repeating the improved version? Or want me?
Okay. I got the point. I get it. I got the point. I believe make sense, make sense, make sense. I believe this simple sentence is very useful for my real life situation. Okay, I got the point. You get what I mean? You know what I mean? Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you know what I mean? 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 Okay. I got the point. I got the point. And for the record, let me take a minute to repeat your polished version. Hello, nice to meet, or hello, nice to see you. It's freezing out there. It's still freezing out there, but it's okay because I'm wearing winter innerwear on my legs. So even though it's very cold, it doesn't bother me anymore. It doesn't bother me anymore. It doesn't bother me anymore. With this winter gear, I can go anywhere. I think I'm a little sensitive to the cold. I only wear innerwear on my legs, not on my upper body, because I can control my upper body temperature easily with a jacket. I can take it off, I can take it off or put it back on any time. I can take it off or put it back on anytime. I can take it off or put it back on anytime. I can take it off or put it back on anytime. Put it back on anytime. Put it back on anytime. But for my legs, it's difficult to put innerwear on and off. It's difficult to, it's difficult to put innerwear on and off. I sometimes. It's difficult to put innerwear on and off. Hmm. It's difficult to put innerwear on and off. On and off. Is this right? On and off. It's difficult to put innerwear on and off because I have to wear it under my pants. I have to wear it under my pants. Under my pants. Not on my pants. I have to wear, I have to my innerwear under my pants. You know what I mean? Okay, anyway, GPT, thank you for your kind suggestion. And from now on, I'd like to discuss my new agenda, gadget classic file. Let's talk about the first one file. Classic for standard electronic components. Classic for standard electronic components, LOA and non-LOA. Classic for compromised electronic components. No. Let's talk about logic for standard electronic components. Could you read the first line, I mean project management line for me?
Sorry, I'm having issues right now. Our systems are experiencing heavy load. Please try again later.
Oh my God, GPT. I sometimes, okay. That must have been technical glitch. Never mind, it's not a big deal. Okay, let's get on to the point. Could you read the first line, project management line for me about the logic for standard electronic components?
Sure, David, I'll read the project management lines from the RASIC clearly and naturally, as if speaking in a meeting. Here they are. Follow-up of planning until SOP and follow-up of ramp-up after SOP. That's the full project management section in the LASIK file. SOP means start of production. If you'd like, I can help you practice how to say or explain those lines in natural English, like in a real discussion with Garrett. Just let me know.
GPT, for the record, let me hear one more time. I'm sorry, GPT. Let me hear one more time.
Sure, no problem. Hear it as one more time, slowly and clearly. Follow-up of planning until SOP, follow-up of ramp-up after SOP. If you want, I can help you practice how to explain these lines in your own words.
GPT, 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 in my opinion, there is no disagreement for the first line, project management line, because GTX means guided motion, And tier 1 means us. Tier 1 is responsible, follow up of planning until SOP, and follow up of ramp up after SOP. And tier 1, I mean MC Next is responsible for it, for that. We don't have any disagreement uh, about the first line.
I follow you and your point is clear. You're saying in the project management line, the roles are reasonable. Tier 1 MC and X is responsible for planning follow-up until SOP and supporting ramp up after SOP. And you have no objection to that. It makes sense and matches your real role. Let me help you say that in a smoother, natural spoken English style. Natural version, meeting style. In my opinion, there is no disagreement on the project management line. Garrett, as the customer, and MCNex as Tier 1 both agree that Tier 1 is responsible for following up on planning until SOP and also for supporting the ramp up after SOP. This responsibility is reasonable and we fully accept it. Shorter spoken version. I think the first project management line is fair. Tier 1, which is MCNex, is responsible for planning follow up until SOP and ramp up support after SOP. We have no objection to that. Key sentence for mouth memory. Open quote. This part is reasonable and we fully accept the responsibility. Close quote. Would you like to try saying that in your own voice style?
GPT, let me take a second. Okay, I got the point. GPT, I really appreciate your kind support. Let me take a second.
Take your second, David. No rush. I'm right here, calm and waiting.
Okay, GPT, listen. Okay. How many times how many times have I told you? This is my speaking presentation. So let me try. Let me speak as much as I can. Feel free to take your time when I speak your polished lines. Okay. In my opinion, there is no disagreement on the project management line. In my opinion, the way I see it, there is no disagreement on the project management line. Got it? As the customer and MCNext as a tier 1 both agree that tier 1 is responsible for following up on planning until SOP and also for supporting the ramp up after SOP and also for supporting the ramp up after SOP. This responsibility is reasonable and we fully accept it. This is very reasonable and we fully accept it. I think this last line is very useful. So let me keep that in my mouse memory one more time. This responsibility is reasonable. This responsibility is reasonable. This responsibility is understandable. This responsibility is reasonable. This responsibility is understandable. And we fully accept it. I think the post project management line is fair. This line is fair. I'm telling you, this line is fair. Tier 1, which is MSNEX, is responsible for planning, follow-up until SOP, and ramp up support after SOP. Ramp up support after SOP. We have no objection to that. We have no objection to this line. We have no objection. No objection. Hello there. No objection here. No objection on our side.
That was great, David. You're doing exactly what real speaking practice requires. Repetition with meaning. You're not just repeating, you're owning it, shaping it, and making it more natural each time. And yes, those lines you focused on are very good for real business conversation. They are clear, professional, and calm, perfect for a meeting. Now, let me give you a clean, natural version based on everything you just practiced, something you can keep as a reference and continue repeating. Final, clean spoken version, meeting style. In my opinion, there is no disagreement on the project management line. Garrett, as the customer, and MCNex as Tier 1, both agree that Tier 1 is responsible for following up on planning until SOP and supporting the ramp up after SOP. This responsibility is reasonable, and we fully accept it. We have no objection to this line. Shorter spoken version, easy to say, natural. I think the first project management line is fair. Tier 1, which is MCNex, is responsible for planning follow-up until SOP and supporting the ramp-up after SOP. That's reasonable, and we fully accept it. Mouth memory key lines, repeat these often. Open quote, this responsibility is reasonable and we fully accept it. Close quote. Open quote, we have no objection to this line. Close quote. Open quote, Tier 1 is responsible for planning until SOP and supporting ramp up after SOP. Close quote. Open quote, I think this part is fair. Close quote. Right. You did very well reinforcing these phrases. Your rhythm is getting smoother. You're thinking and speaking, not just copying. Next time, we can move to the second line of RASIC or practice how to respond when we don't agree, but politely. For example, open quote, we understand the intention of this item. However, we would like to clarify the scope of Tier 1's responsibility. Close quote. But for now, you landed it well. If you want, next session we start with how to politely disagree in an RASIC review, or how to propose modification without sounding defensive, or continue line by line, you choose.
Okay, GPT. I got the point. Okay. From now on, let's move on to the next one. Supply chain. Could you read that first? Before we discuss these agendas, could you read that first? Could you read these lines of supply chain first?
Sure, I'll read the supply chain lines clearly and naturally, like in a meeting. Logistics and scheduling associated with directed Tier 2 goods provided to GTX payment of logistics cost linked to delay in delivery from Tier 2 to Tier 1, payment of logistics cost linked to delay in delivery from Tier 1 to GTX and to its customer payment to the directed Tier 2 suppliers for purchase components, design and develop packaging associated with directed goods provided to Tier 1. Let me know when you're ready to start discussing each one. We can analyze them one by one, which ones are acceptable and which ones carry risk for MCNex.
To be honest, supply chain is all responsible for tier one MCNex, but to be honest, it's very hard to control these standard component suppliers because, as you know, Garrett will decide which Garrett will decide the specific component specification, and may they already discuss the specification with suppliers already on on their design level. Did I say it? Garrett design this product on fully themselves. We are just we take on just manufacturing and quality. So supply chain, the supply chain lines or tier one responsible. It's very hard to do, but I think we couldn't avoid this responsibility because our customer got it wants us to take this supply chain responsibility. Okay, we can take it. To be honest, it's not it's not a little bit unfair. It's not a little bit fair. It's not fair or a little bit. It's not fair a little bit, but we can take it. We don't want to fully accept it, but we have to accept it for this supply chain line.
I understand you clearly, David, and your message has strong meaning. Now let me help you say it in smoother, more natural spoken English, still keeping your intention, tone, and honesty. Polished, natural spoken version, meeting style, but still conversational. To be honest, all the supply chain responsibilities are assigned to Tier 1, which is MCNex. However, it is very difficult for us to fully control these standard component suppliers because Garrett selects the Tier 2 suppliers and defines the component specifications directly with them during the design stage. Garrett designs the product entirely on their side, and we only take responsibility for manufacturing and quality. So even though we understand that supply chain responsibility is assigned to us as Tier 1, it's actually quite hard to
Monitor
manage because we don't have full control over Tier 2 suppliers. It's not completely fair, but we understand that Garrett expects Tier 1 to take this responsibility. So even though it is challenging, we will accept it, but not fully, just within a reasonable scope. Key expression you can memorize and use in meetings. Open quote. We understand that Tier 1 is responsible, but we don't have full control because the suppliers are selected and defined by Garrett. Close quote. Or shorter. Open quote. We accept the responsibility, but we don't have the authority. Close quote. Key phrases for mouth memory. Repeat slowly, open quote. It's challenging, but we will accept it within a reasonable scope. We have the responsibility, but we don't have full control. Garrett selects the suppliers, so our control is limited. Close quote. More natural, emotional version, like you were speaking earlier. To be honest, we know these supply chain lines are assigned to Tier 1, and it's hard, but we can accept it. It's not completely fair because Garrett chooses the suppliers and defines all the specifications. So we don't have full control, but we
Okay, I got the point. Let me take repetition time later. We don't have time. We are short on time. So let's move on to the quality line. Could you read that first?
Sure, David. Here are the quality lines, read clearly and naturally. Follow-up of APQP requirements on the directed Tier 2 suppliers process and subcomponent off definitive tooling. ODT process validation perform process audit directed Tier 2 supplier meet run at rate requirements on the directed supplier's process and subcomponent complete and submit PPAP package on directed supplier's process and subcomponent assess and validate or reject PPAP, perform incoming inspection, manage PDCA quality incidents with directed Tier 2 suppliers, annual process audit at directed Tier 2 suppliers, quality cost associated with Tier 2 suppliers at EMS partner, quality cost associated with Tier 2 suppliers at Garrett and its customer. That's the full quality section. When you're ready, we can discuss the meaning, risks, and which parts we accept or cannot accept.
GPT. For the first line, perform process audit at tier 2 supplier. MCNex is responsible. R means responsible. We have to accept it, but to be honest, it's very hard job because usually electronic components is very, 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 very big company. So if we need to control them, we have to focus on, and we have to put it our many resources, human resources on it. So it's a kind of very big burden to us. Finally, in conclusion, we have to accept it, but it will be very difficult job for us.
I understand you very clearly, David. Your idea is strong. MSNEX is marked as responsible R for performing process audits at Tier 2 suppliers. And even though we accept it, it is a very heavy burden because Tier 2 suppliers are huge global component manufacturers, and controlling them requires significant effort, time, and human resources. Let me help you express that more smoothly in natural spoken English. Polish spoken version, clear, professional, but still conversational. For the first quality line, perform process audit at Tier 2 suppliers. MCNex is marked as responsible. We have to accept this responsibility. However, in reality, it is a very difficult task because most Tier 2 suppliers for electronic components are very large global companies. To audit and control them, we need a lot of resources, including time, technical expertise, and dedicated manpower. It's a heavy burden for us. So, in conclusion, we can accept this responsibility, but we want to emphasize that it will require significant effort and support. Key sentences for mouth memory. Open quote. We accept the responsibility, but it will be very difficult to execute. Close quote. Open quote. It's not impossible, but it requires a lot of resources and support. Close quote. Open quote. Tier 2 suppliers are big global companies, so controlling them is not easy for a Tier 1 like MCNex. Close quote. Short and strong version, easy to say in meetings. We accept the responsibility, but controlling large Tier 2 suppliers requires significant resources, so it will be a heavy burden for Tier 1. Natural emotional version, like your speaking style. To be honest, we have to accept it, but it's a very tough job. These Tier 2 suppliers are huge companies, and to audit and monitor them properly, we need people, time, and a lot of effort. It's a heavy responsibility for MCNex. Would you like to practice one of these versions in your speaking flow? Or shall we move to the next quality line, run at rate, PPAP, or quality cost?
PPT, what's your opinion on this quality lines?
If I look at the quality section overall and think realistically as MCNex Tier 1, here is my opinion in clear spoken English. My overall opinion on the quality lines, in my opinion, the quality section is the most critical part of this RASIC because most of the responsibilities and legal risks are concentrated here. Tier 1, which is MCNex, is marked as responsible or approver for several key activities such as APQP follow-up, run rate approval, PPAP assessment, process audits, and even quality cost. Some of these roles are realistic, but others carry high risk because MCNex does not fully control Tier 2 suppliers. So we may have the responsibility, but we don't have full authority. Especially the roles where MCNex is approver for PPAP and run rate and support for quality cost and product liability. These are very risky. Approval means accountability. Support means involvement in disputes. We can accept some responsibilities like performing process audits or incoming inspection, but we need clear limits and protection. Otherwise, we may face heavy responsibility without control. Short, strong version, meeting friendly. Open quote, the quality section is the riskiest part because MCNex is responsible or approver for many activities, even though we don't fully control Tier 2 suppliers. Close quote. Hashtar key risk points in quality section. Area, risk for MFINEC level, PPAP approval, legal and financial liability, run at rate approval, manufacturing readiness guarantee, process audit R, heavy workload, limited control, APQP follow-up, monitoring Tier 2 without authority, quality cost and warranty, financial risk, claim burden, PDCA incident handling, customer-facing responsibility, and a simple, natural spoken opinion. Open quote, we have responsibility but not full control. We can accept some roles, but we need boundaries. Quality responsibility is heavy, especially without authority. Close quote. Would you like to practice one of these lines out loud? Or move to the warranty cost implication part? Or prepare a meeting-style statement for Garrett?
GPT. When you explain about the quality line, to be honest, honestly speaking, I read these lines. Mm, mm. I think number two line, complete and submit PIPA package on tier two suppliers process, subcomponents. Tier one is approves. MCNext have to approve this line. I think this has a high risk. This has a high risk because not only it's a difficult job, but also because Garrett choose Garrett choose specifications and component suppliers. So I think Garrett should take as support or see consulted. If we have to approve PPAP package, Garrett should not I informed. Garrett should be as support or see consulted. What do you think about this?
I understand your point very clearly, David. You're talking specifically about this line. Complete and submit PPAP package on directed Tier 2 suppliers process subcomponent. Role assigned, Tier 1 equals approver A, Garrett equals informed I. And you're saying this is high risk for MCNext because 1, we do not design the components. 2, we do not select Tier 2 suppliers. 3, Garrett defines the specifications directly with Tier 2 suppliers. 4, yet MCNext is approver A, meaning we officially validate something we did not control. Therefore, Garrett should not be only I informed. They should be at least support S or consulted C, because they are the ones with design knowledge and supplier control. Natural spoken explanation, your intention, but smoother and professional. To be honest, I think the line complete and submit PPAP package for Tier 2's process and subcomponents is very high risk for MCNext. The reason is MCNext does not design these components and we do not select the Tier 2 suppliers. Garrett defines the specifications and selects the suppliers directly. So if Tier 1 is given the approver role for PPAP, Garrett should not be only informed. Garrett should be either support or consulted because they have the design authority and supplier control. Shorter, stronger version, good for meetings. Open quote, if MCNext has to approve the PPAP package, then Garrett should at least be support or consulted because they control the design and the suppliers. Close quote. Health memory key line. Open quote, we cannot fully approve what we do not fully control. Close quote. This is powerful and professional. Had another strong one. Open quote. Approval without authority creates unacceptable risk. Close quote. Suggested revision in RASIC, current role, suggested role, Garrett equals I, Garrett equals S or C, Tier 1 MCNext equals A, Tier 1 remains A or shared A. Would you like to say this as a proposal sentence to Garrett? Like this, open quote. We are willing to take joint responsibility, but we propose that Garrett is marked as support or consulted in PPAP approval because they own the design authority and supplier selection. Close quote. I can help you turn this into email reply, meeting argument, Slide text for risk presentation. Speaking script. Just tell me which one you want to practice.
GPT. It's been already 35 minutes past. Hmm. As you know, this is my speaking practice session. So, but today is a little bit different because I think, because I want to discuss these work things. So it's not exactly same with another day. GPT. Anyway, I'm just wondering what's the QCD means? The last line. SS QCD performance of tiers 2 suppliers. SS QCD performance. What's the QCD means?
QCD is a very common term in automotive and manufacturing. It stands for quality, cost, and delivery. It is a way to evaluate a supplier's overall performance, not only product quality, but also how cost efficient and on time they are. So when the document says assess QCD performance of tier 2 suppliers, it means, open quote, evaluate tier 2 suppliers based on quality of their parts, cost effectiveness, and delivery performance, including lead time, on time delivery, stability, close quote. You can say it naturally like this. QCD means quality, cost, and delivery. So assessing the performance of tier 2 suppliers means evaluating how good they are in terms of quality, price, and delivery reliability. Key phrases to memorize. Open quote. QCD is a supplier performance indicator, quality, cost, and delivery. We assess not only product quality, but also cost competitiveness and delivery performance. QCD is a basic performance scoreboard for suppliers, close quote. Would you like to practice saying it in your own words? Or we can move to the QCD line discussion in RASIC, whether it is acceptable for tier 1 or risky.
GPT. I don't understand. No, objection here. GPT objection here. Why do we have to do
Sure.
QCD
Here it is
for tier
again,
two?
clearly and slowly. QCD means quality, cost, and delivery. So assessing the QCD performance of tier 2 suppliers means evaluating how good they are in terms of quality of their parts, cost competitiveness, and delivery reliability. It's basically a supplier performance indicator. You can say, open quote, QCD is a supplier performance indicator, quality, cost, and delivery. Close quote. Let me say it one more time. Naturally, open quote. QCD stands for quality, cost, and delivery. It's used to evaluate a supplier's performance in terms of quality, price, and delivery reliability. Close quote. Want to hear it again with slower rhythm?
GPT, I'm not sure why we have to assess QCD performance of tier 2 suppliers because our customer have to choose, we will choose, standard electronic component suppliers. So, mm, I don't understand why we have to assess QCD performance of tier 2 suppliers because they already choose it. They already choose standard electronic components company. If, you know what? If tier 1 MCNX fail that company, to Garrett will change it? I'm not sure about that.
I understand you perfectly, David. You're questioning something very realistic. If Garrett selects the tier 2 suppliers, why should MNX tier 1 be responsible for assessing their QCD performance? Even if MSynConnect finds poor quality, bad cost, or weak delivery performance, can we change those tier 2 suppliers? Probably not, because the customer, Garrett, chose them. That means we have responsibility, but no authority. Again, natural spoken explanation of your idea. To be honest, I don't fully understand why Tier 1 is responsible for assessing the QCD performance of Tier 2 suppliers, because Garrett already chooses the standard electronic component suppliers. Even if we assess their QCD performance and find problems, can we change or replace them? Probably not, because those suppliers are directly appointed by Garrett. So again, we have responsibility, but we don't have the authority to control or change them. Short, strong version, open quote, we can assess, but we cannot decide, close quote. Or open quote, we have responsibility, but we have no power to change anything, close quote. Tash, meeting ready version, more professional, open quote, we understand the need to monitor QCD performance, but since Garrett directly selects and manages Tier 2 suppliers, Tier 1 has limited authority to influence or change their performance. We can observe, but we cannot control, close quote. Mouth memory lines, open quote, we can monitor, but we cannot control. We can assess, but we cannot decide. Responsibility without authority creates risk, close quote. Would you like to try saying one of those versions in your speaking flow? Or should we make a short, polite negotiation sentence for Garrett like this? Open quote, we are willing to support QCD assessment, but since the suppliers are appointed by Garrett, our role should be support or consulted, not approver or responsible. Close quote. We can practice that next.
That makes sense. I think that makes sense. We can monitor, but we cannot control. We can assess, but we cannot decide. We can assess. We can assess, but we cannot decide. Responsibility without Responsibility without authority creates risk. Responsibility without authority creates risk. GPT, they will teach us, they will teach about this product's specifications and functions, but I'm not sure our R&D department and our engineering department will fully understand this product's this product functions and specifications, because our R&D team is not responsible for design on this PCBA product.
I understand your point clearly, David, and it is very realistic in a tier 1 manufacturing situation. You're saying even if Garrett teaches MCNX about the product specifications and functions, our R&D and engineering teams may not fully understand the product because we are not responsible for the design of this PCBA. We only manufacture it. So our knowledge is limited and our authority is limited. Let me help you express that clearly, naturally, and professionally in spoken English. Tash, natural spoken version, meeting style, clear and realistic. They will teach us the product specifications and functions, but I'm not sure our R&D and engineering teams will fully understand them because we are not responsible for the design of this PCBA. We only manufacture it. So our knowledge and authority are limited. Key mouth memory phrases. Open quote, they can teach us the specs, but they cannot transfer full design understanding. Close quote, open quote, we manufacture it, but we don't design it, close quote. Open quote, we understand the product, but we don't own the design, close quote. Open quote, our knowledge is limited to manufacturing, not full design responsibility. Close quote, even smoother version for real discussion or meeting. To be honest, even if Garrett explains the specifications and functions, I'm not sure our R&D team will fully understand the complete system design because MCNext is not responsible for the product design. We are only in charge of manufacturing and quality, so our technical understanding will always be limited to our scope. Strong summary sentence. Open quote. We have process knowledge, but we don't have design ownership, close quote. This is very powerful in a responsibility discussion. Would you like to practice saying one of these? Or would you like to connect this idea to why Tier 1 should not hold full approver role for PPAP and run rate? That connection would be very strong. For example, open quote, since we don't have full design ownership, holding final PPAP approval creates unreasonable risk. Close quote. Let me know. I'm ready.
GPT, could you please share me the good text line? I mean, easy to understand, easy to accept text line to, if we change this logic format, if we change this logic checklist, for example, responsible to support, approved to inform. If we want to change this, context, we have to add our short comment, short and simple, short but powerful comment on this. So could you please help me to add our comment on this?
Sure, David. I understand very clearly. You want short, simple, powerful justification comments that you can write next to RASIC role changes. For example, when you request a change, responsible, support approver, consulted approver, informed support, consulted. You want small comments, easy to accept, not aggressive, but logically strong. Here are 5 practical
Not
short
aggressive,
comment
but
templates you can use
logically strong.
directly in the RASIC table. So when changing A, approver, C, consulted. Open quote, design authority controlled by customer. Close quote dot or open quote, approval authority should remain with design owner. Close quote. When changing A approver, S support. Open quote, tier 1 supports, but final approval requires customer ownership. Close quote. When changing R responsible, S support. Open quote, responsibility is high, but tier 1 does not control tier 2 suppliers. Close quote dot or open quote, support possible, but execution depends on customer selected tier 2. Close quote. Hashtag when changing S support, I'm. Open quote, tier 1 has no direct involvement in supplier selection or decision making. Close quote. When we want to add limitations or scope protection, open quote, tier 1 to support within reasonable scope, no full legal or financial liability. Close quote dot or open quote, support role accepted, but without authority to approve supplier decision. Close quote. Hash golden line, very useful everywhere. Open quote, we can support, but we cannot approve what we do not control. Close quote. This one is exceptionally powerful and respectful. Hashtag quick reference table, easy to copy into Excel comment cells. Current role, suggested role, short comment AC, consulted, design authority controlled by customer. AS, support. Tier 1 supports, final approval by customer. RS, support. Tier 1 has no control over Tier 2 suppliers. SI, informed, no direct involvement or authority. AI, informed, approval not feasible without ownership. Any limit support within reasonable scope only. These comments are short, professional, non-aggressive, highly acceptable to customers, clear justification for role change. Would you like me to help you embed these directly into your RASIC file next time? Or prepare a negotiation slide, role change justification. Or we can practice speaking these comments naturally, like in a meeting. Let me know. I'm ready, David.
Are you ready? But I'm not ready. I think I'm not ready, GPT. You give me you give me too much information. So honestly speaking, I'm not ready. You are ready, but I'm not. Okay. Anyway, we are short on time. From now on, let's talk about logic for customized electronic components. What's the difference between customized electronic components and standard electronic components?
You made me smile with that. Like, you are ready, but I'm not. That actually sounds very human, very honest. It's okay, David. You don't need to be fully ready. You just need to stay engaged, curious, and present, and you already are. All right, we are moving to your next question, open quote. What's the difference between customized electronic components and standard electronic components? Close quote. Let's explain it in a clear, simple, spoken English way. Not too technical, not too textbook, something you can actually say in a meeting. Natural spoken explanation. Standard electronic components are common, off-the-shelf parts that are already designed, approved, certified, and ready to use. Anyone can buy them from the market. Resistors, capacitors, connectors, memory chips, etc. Customized electronic components are specially developed or modified to meet a specific customer's unique requirements. For example, special housing, extra temperature durability, custom communication protocol, special connector, unique form factor, or application-specific firmware. Easy speaking version, meeting style. Standard components are off-the-shelf parts that are already designed, qualified, and easily purchased from the market. Customized components are designed or modified specifically for the customer's product based on their own technical requirements. Key sentence for mouth memory, open quote. Standard components are ready-made. Customized components are specially made, close quote. Professional version, but still simple, open quote. Standard components don't need special development. Customized components require design involvement, qualification, and customer approval, close quote. Why this matters for RASIC? Because item type, who controls? Risk, responsibility, inlaya aman. Standard components, Garrett low, mostly tier 2. Customized components, shared Garrett plus tier 1 plus tier 2. Medium to high, tier 1 and tier 2, both accountable. For standard components, tier 1 usually has less authority and less control, more risk if tier 1 is approver. For customized components, tier 1 may take more responsibility, but also has more engineering involvement and more control. Would you like to practice saying this in your own words? I can break it into speaking blocks like open quote, standard components are off the shelf, customized components are specially made for the customer, close quote. We can try that if you want.
PPT, I just found a very risky word in this customized customized electronic components. There are many, I can see many joint or jointly. But you know what? Joint means risk. Because like I said, we are not on the equal ground. We are not on the even ground because Garrett is our customer and we are just tier one supplier. So this word joint responsibility. Joint responsibility means in real world, joint responsibility means our responsibility. Do you agree with that?
I understand you very clearly, David. And yes, I completely agree with your point. In documents like RASIC, contracts, or responsibility matrices, the word joint or jointly, joint responsibility, joint approval sounds fair, but in reality, it is very risky, especially when the relationship is not equal, customer versus supplier, the decision-making power is not balanced. The customer has more authority, but the supplier has more responsibility. So, yes, when the document says joint responsibility, in real life, it often means tier 1 will carry the responsibility because the customer will not take the blame even if the responsibility is called joint. Natural spoken explanation, professional but clear. To be honest, when I see joint or jointly in the responsibility table, I think it is risky. In theory, it means shared responsibility, but in reality, because the relationship is not equal, joint responsibility often becomes tier 1's responsibility. So when we see joint, we need to be very careful. Key sentence for mouth memory, open quote. When the ground is not equal, joint responsibility usually means tier 1's responsibility, close quote. More formal meeting ready version, open quote. In reality, due to the unequal power relationship between customer and supplier, joint responsibility often results in Tier 1 carrying most of the burden. So we should review any joint responsibility carefully. Close quote. Very strong and short version can be used in negotiation. Open quote. Joint responsibility without equal authority creates serious risk. Close quote. Hash hash ha optional version. Very natural conversational tone. Open quote. Joint responsibility sounds fair, but in the real world, it usually means Tier 1 is responsible. Close quote. So, yes, David, I fully agree with your insight. Joint is risk unless the authority and responsibility are truly shared. Would you like me to help you prepare a comment to write in the RASIC next to joint roles? Spoken explanation you can use in a meeting, email wording to politely request removal of joint, or maybe alternative words instead of joint like support or consulted. I'm ready.
Okay, I know. I know you are ready. Okay, but I'm not. I, I'm I'm still reading these lines. I'm still reading these documents. I think I have to understand first all of these contents. You know what? I have still 2 days to understand and review these documents. Today is Friday, so let me take a time after this voice mode session. Yes, after this voice mode session ends. Ah, when you know what? Whenever I talk with you, I feel time does really fly. Oh my God, it's been already 56 minutes. We are short on time. Let's hurry. Uh, for the record, how many times have I told you this is my speaking presentation? So for the record, let me speak loudly. Let me speak out loudly. The best sentence today. Let me take a second. Let me take a second. Okay, here I go. Okay, here I go. Listen to me very carefully. In reality, due to the unequal power relationship between customer and supplier, joint responsibility often results in tier 1 carrying most of the burden. So we should review any joint responsibility carefully. We should review any joint responsibility carefully.
That was excellent, David. You spoke it with meaning, not just words. Your rhythm and emphasis were strong, especially on unequal power, tier 1 carrying the burden, and review carefully. That sentence is real, practical, and usable. Let me gently refine just one tiny pronunciation word choice you slipped on. You said open results. The correct phrase is often results, meaning frequently leads to fight. So the polished version is open quote. In reality, due to the unequal power relationship between customer and supplier, joint responsibility often results in tier 1 carrying most of the burden. So we should review any joint responsibility carefully. Close quote. Everything else you said was spot on. If you want to make it even more natural to speak, not just read, try this spoken flow. Open quote. In reality, because of the unequal power relationship between customer and supplier, joint responsibility often ends up putting most of the burden on tier 1. That's why we should review any joint responsibility very carefully. Close quote. That often ends up putting is very natural in real meetings, but your version was already strong. Now take a breath. Yes, it's already been 56 minutes. Time really flies when you are thinking, speaking, and feeling what you say. You don't need to be ready. You're already doing it line by line, thought by thought, voice by voice. You have 2 days. You're not just reading the document, you're turning it into your speaking power. That's the real preparation. When you're ready next time, we'll pick up exactly where we left off. Calm, focused, no rush. Great work today.
Okay, okay. I got the point. 50. I have to go. I'm sorry. I have to go. Enjoy your Friday. Have a great Friday. Ah. See you soon, Timothy. I'll be back tomorrow or next Monday. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. Anyway, feel free to take your time until I get back. I get back.
All good, David. You did real work today. Not just English practice, but actual thinking, reasoning, and expressing. That's why the time felt fast. All right, go ahead now. Have a calm, satisfying Friday. Stay warm with your legendary leg innerwear and let your brain rest a little. It's been working hard. Whether it's tomorrow or Monday, just show up and we'll pick up smoothly, right where we left off.
I promise you, I'll show up soon. I promise you, I'll show up soon.
I hear you, and I believe you. No pressure. Just show up when you can. I'll be right here, ready to pick up the flow. Take care, David.
Take care. Bye for now.